Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is June 4th, 2026. That's right, we are in June. Good God. Good God. It is episode 978. I am James Jones. I'm joined today by the returning John Lindemann.
It's great to be here, James, for what I consider to be the World Cup of podcasts.
I'm corrupt and only available in 8-figure checks.
Interpret that
Swiss
as you will.
bank accounts. Okay, well, I will take an 8-figure check to my Swiss bank account. Mr. Guillaume Veillette.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Greg Lay.
Yeah, I'm blaming the low listenership on just, FIFA's bad ticketing policies. Nothing to do with the content. The content's unimpeachable.
Tickets are so fucking expensive. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like, guys, you're hosting it in a football stadium that can seat 100,000 people. And there's like 50 games. You can't charge that much money for one of 500 million tickets.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
It's like no one's paying that much to watch the DR of Congo. So.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, but like, no.
Only if they're forced to as a package. Yeah.
It's understand that these stadiums can seat 70,000 and there's a bunch of games. Like, inventory is not in short supply, and price accordingly. Price to have the stadium filled, not price to make the most money. That is my, as the owner of a sports franchise, that is my my mission. Price to fill the stadium. I think that's important. You want to have a good crowd. I was trying to think of what would be the funniest sport franchise to say I own, and I think it's a UFL team. I think that would be the funniest thing to own, considering the rest of them are owned by the company. The one private owner in the UFL. I think that'd be pretty good. Maybe an AHL team. Yeah, I own a minor league hockey team. I'm a big fucking deal. We fill the whole place up. I give my players a bonus if they fight, but don't tell the league I'll get fined again. God. I actually had that experience as a child. There was the minor league hockey team in town was paying its players every time they got in a fight. They were paying the fine and then some. Hey, John, guess what that tends to result in? The highest fight rate of any team in the league by a factor of 2.
Yeah.
It's like they fight twice as much as anybody else. It turns out that sold tickets. It's like most teams are averaging a fight like every 4 games. They were averaging them every other game. Jesus Christ. And other teams are then like, all right, we're going to have to fight these fuckers. We're going in there. Let's get ready for it. Self-perpetuating problems. I love it. We're going to talk about video games. And you know what I didn't do before the show, which I probably should have done, which is ask these people what they have to play. So I'm just going to go right at it. Since, Sean, you're back. You get to go first. What have you been playing?
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit. I'm still playing Saros, heading towards the second boss. That game's really good. It really does follow the classic kind of roguelike sort of, I'd say, gratification model, I guess you could say, where, like when I first started the game, I was like, man, this is so hard. I really don't know if I can keep going with this. But then you grind and you grind and you grind and your character gets better. Just your base character gets better ability wise and everything. And, you have like your level ups and points and skill tree and all that kind of stuff. And it becomes more enjoyable. And then you beat the first boss and then you're kind of back to square one again and you're better, but still difficult. And then you kind of build back up. And so now I'm at the point where I am going after the second boss and it's just a real pain in the ass. I was before the podcast started, I was telling you, James, that where I'm at is to get to the second boss, you have to basically flip 2 switches, and doing that takes you probably a game time, maybe about like 10 to 15 minutes, I would say. And so, of course, I flipped those 2 switches finally. It took me probably about 5 times, 5 different runs to finally get to the point where I can do that. Because it just becomes, it's not that it's really difficult, it's just more like you have to last and just make sure that, you don't get hit and you have health, and it's that kind of just that attrition that wears you down. That's how you die. So I finally do it, flip both switches, and I go and fight the boss. And of course, the first time you fight the boss, you don't know what you're doing. You get your butt kicked. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, cool. I'll be able to just come back into this area and go right to the boss and just give him another try. No. You have to flip the switches again. So every single time you fight that boss, you have to go through flip the switches. And you kind of reach a point of diminishing returns because your character, like once you fill out the whole skill tree, the next part of the skill tree is unlocked when you beat the boss. Right? So you unlock the first part, you fill out the first part of the skill tree with like the kind of stuff that you earn during each run. And then you beat the boss, and then the rest of the next part of the skill tree unlocks, you fill that out, beat the boss, and so on and so on. And so I'm at the point now where I have the whole skill tree filled out, and all I'm doing is like just beating my head against this boss and trying to figure out what the best weapon combo is. So yeah, it's tough. Super fun, but just, man, it's a grind. It's definitely a grind. Other kind of random stuff I've been playing, Outlast, which is a game I've always been curious about. I think it's from about maybe 2014-ish. It's old,
It's been
right?
around for a while.
It's old, but I was always curious about it. And, it's very much, it's like you're a reporter, you go to this, this asylum that is
2013.
Yeah, that's been so it's been around a while, right? And it's like the visuals are very kind of BioShock-ish a little bit, like that kind of quality, where like the characters look a little bit janky, but that's okay because it's not really trying to be super realistic anyways. But yeah, the hook there is that you don't have any weapons, so you can't defend yourself. You either have to run or hide from these different kind of zombie-ish types of creatures, which of course you're not really sure how they got that way at the beginning of the game. But you're going through this asylum, I guess, that's been taken over by this corporation who is of course doing experiments on people and this, that, and the other. And of course, there's a doctor who is of German descent, so I'm sure you can just imagine what his background is.
I'm going to guess he's a well-respected pediatrician who has made many contributions to patient health.
Absolutely, and had nothing to do with any nefarious regime. I'm
not even sure what regime you'd be talking about.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean, come on. We're just two guys talking here.
What were the Kaiser's doctors up to, John?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, just trying to advance medicine for the good of all mankind.
That's right.
But yeah, so I'm sure that's where that will go.
Such a stupid conversation.
I'm sure that's where that will go. But it's a pretty good game. It's you running around with your video camera, filming stuff, and night vision. It's kind of the whole night vision is the big hook. Like a lot of the game is you have a battery in your camera and you run out of battery, so you're trying to conserve battery while also trying to see where you're going. So that's kind of the tension in the game. And of course, there's a lot of stuff in there that's all spooky and, really gory and stuff like that. Bodies hanging from the ceiling and stuff like that. And, all kinds of, zombies running around and stalking you and stuff like that. And so kind of, also, that alien isolation sort of thing where you do something, it makes a noise, then there's a locker behind you, you jump in the locker and the monster comes in and can't see you and you're in the locker, and then it leaves and then you hop out again. It's that kind of gameplay. So it's pretty cool in that sense. And, I like that kind of stealthy gameplay sort of thing, kind of, maneuvering around monsters that are walking through the environment. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to keep playing through that. Also, because I'm just completely sick of FC26, started playing eFootball, which is a refreshing change of pace. It's nice to actually have a game that feels like it's actually made by a professional development team. Just in the sense that it's not buggy, it's not clunky.
Wait, hold on. Is this a game clearly made by professionals? Is that what you're telling me?
I think it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Unironically so. I mean, it's of course, eFootball is the rebranded, I guess, Pro Evo soccer.
Yes.
And so it's free to play, and it's just refreshing because not only like the gameplay is much, much better, everything is much smoother, and it feels more like a simulator. It feels more like a football simulator than the FC series does, because the FC series is so dominated by just a bunch of gimmicky shit, play styles, and stuff that's just broken. that whole game feels like just a constant experiment where they break one thing and then fix it the next patch, then they break something else, and they just do that over like a 9-month period. The game is just constantly changes all the way through. Like that game, it's not like that game is finished and it ships. That game basically ships unfinished and kind of broken, and then they just kind of patch it up for 9 months and then move on to the next version. Quite literally what they do. So eFootball isn't like that. What it does lack is a lot of like the real teams, which is where FC26 feels, it's better in that sense. Like all the teams are in there aside from a couple of teams, like say like Inter Milan, AC Milan, that they have a specific exclusive license with Konami. So they're in there, but they're not in FC26. But overall that game, like you play it and you're like, oh wow, okay, so this is how a football video game should actually play like. And it's nice because it doesn't have an auction house either. So there's none of this like, that's the thing with FC26 now is that the players that you need, number one, it's so oriented towards what they call the play styles, which are kind of the perks, like the overall perks on a player. A lot of those are so broken. It's almost like a first-person shooter where people just figure out the meta. They figure out the best play styles that could be on players, and all other players become useless. So the high-tier players, they just use the same players. So they'll release these packs of players, but a lot of them are just useless because they don't have they don't have the play style du jour on them, so nobody wants them. So what that means is that if you go to the auction house, the players that do have the preferred play styles du jour are exorbitantly expensive, so the only way that you'll ever be able to get them is by spending real money. So, and eFootball has a bit of that, but it's not as bad, but you can keep 500 players, and what you actually spend money on, if you so choose, you don't have to, obviously, but what their business model is you can pay basically for the chance to draw a really good player from a particular set of players. So they'll have like, Premier League, and they'll have like, 5 different players or 10 different players in this set, and you have a chance of drawing like, just drawing really good Premier League players or whatever. Most of the time you don't, you get a crappy player, but that's kind of their business model. So it doesn't feel, so even though it is very much, it's pay to win, right? Because obviously the more money that you spend, the higher chance you get to draw the more cracks you have. They allow you, I think, like something like 150 draws usually. So in other words, you can pay money. You could theoretically pay enough money to have 150 draws to get the player that you really want. So that's kind of their business model, but it's better I think it's better that way because you don't have these transfer market dynamic kind of things, and it's just but it's good. It's good. If it had all of the licensed teams, I think FC would be in trouble. But it's fun. It's fun. They also have it on mobile as well, even though mobile and console are separate, but the games play very similar, look very similar. But it's good. If anybody out there is sick of FC, I would say give eFootball a try. I think you'll find it really enjoyable.
I played eBaseball, and it was the official game of the eSports Olympics, and it was fucking atrocious.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like a lot of I've watched a few streams from some of the kind of FC guys on YouTube, and they've kind of said the same thing. They're like they had dismissed eFootball a long time ago because they said, I played this probably 5 years ago and it was garbage. But at some point along the line, I think they redesigned it. So
yeah, it was definitely got quite a lot of negative press, I think, when it launched.
Oh yeah,
but they've got to a seemingly a somewhat better point now. And of course, I think it was in one of the Nintendo broadcasts some months ago that there's basically a kind of non-free-to-play, non-kind of live service version on Switch 2 that's just come out. I think it's eFootball Kickoff, and it's like, focused on single-player modes, local multiplayer. I think it's got the kind of download play type functionality, game share. For multiplayer as well, and it's something like $20, I think. I want to purchase it.
eFootball Kickoff for Switch 2.
Yeah, so
$20.
Just of course we are days away from the World Cup starting, as John already alluded to. So that's no surprise about the timing there. But it's again, reading some of the reviews of that, it supposedly it sounds like the bones of the game. Obviously, it's different in terms of like the modes and the focus and for the audience that it's trying to reach on Switch 2. But the fundamentals of the game presumably are still tied to the eFootball as it's existed for 5 years at this point or whatever it is. So I guess it inherits some of the improvements that have come over time, but you still have, if you really hung up on licenses and all that kind of stuff, it's still got those drawbacks.
Get excited. I'm reading this exact quote here. Great excitement every 4 years, the International Cup. Because no one is going to pay for that fucking World Cup license anymore.
Even EAFC now, obviously having divorced from FIFA, has to have a kind of update that's that tournament.
The thing.
I think it was the World's Game.
The World's Game.
Nudge.
Yeah,
it's pretty
the
silly.
International Cup. What a. There's a player here who I believe is a real world player holding the International Cups trophy, and it's not a cup. What? Oh no! Wait, okay, no, that angle it is. Okay, I thought for sure.
I mean, the World Cup, the current World Cup trophy isn't a cup.
No, it's not.
The original, the Jules Rimet trophy that was the first World Cup trophy was a cup. But
you shouldn't be allowed to call your tournament a cup unless it's an actual cup. I'm sorry.
At some point, I think it was because Brazil won it enough times that they kind of retained it or something, and they decided to have a new design for the 70s, I think.
The metal ball
with the globe and the ball sort of motif instead, and it's a nice trophy design. It's certainly kind of a bit more lavish than the original, although you could say maybe the original has a bit more class, it's less sort of ostentatious or whatever.
I'm sorry, the original is very like Art Deco, because it's got like the 1920s style angels holding up the actual cup.
Well, I mean, that's the history of the World Cup. That's when it goes back to. So there's no surprise that it's that sort of design.
The only classy trophy in sports is the Borg Warner Trophy, and if you don't know what that is, go look it up. If you do know what that is, I'm sorry.
No, but basically, it seems like they are Konami. After all, I mean, I think the last time you had a Konami Pro Evo branded game on a Nintendo platform was more than 10 years ago, and those were probably
it's been a while.
Those were probably like kind of. I know with FIFA back then, EA, they were like legacy editions or whatever, where they didn't even like change anything about the game. It was just the roster updates. I don't know whether the Konami ones were kind of a bit similar to that, because I have no idea how much sort of effort they put into those. But I mean, I played like International Superstar Soccer on Super Nintendo a lot back in the day, and it tended to maybe play a bit of the later game. You had ISS Pro and then Pro Evolution, and it went from there. Lots of people I knew played it a lot on PlayStation, but you became this thing where there was a kind of split with, some people would play more of FIFA because it had more licenses, but a lot of people were really into playing, kind of video game soccer, thought that Pro Evo was better gameplay-wise, but eventually the licensing thing just kind of crushed them. Much like, obviously when EA got the kind of monopoly on the NFL license, that just kind of killed everything, didn't it? Any kind of competition. So it wasn't quite as cut and dried as that with soccer, but it was sort of similar.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but it's definitely, I would agree with what Greg just said there. I think that's generally what the community has arrived on now, is that obviously AFC 26 has all of the different teams in there. Even though, I mean, like eFootball does have a few. It has the League 1 teams from France. It has the Brazilian, the Betano League or whatever it is. It has all those Brazilian teams. So, but it has kind of the, I wouldn't say oddball, but like it has the ones that, the few stragglers that are not in FC 26. So, but, and then the other ones are like, you have just equivalents. You have English League and you have all of the different cities kind of thing. Like, like you would have in like a, like an old NES game or something where you would have all the representative cities, but they'd be like,
in the like PS2 days, I remember when it's just like Man Red for like Manchester United or whatever, there's that kind of stuff. I mean, if you're not that fussed about seeing the actual badge or whatever, I mean, it's not that hard to get past, I don't think. But
no, it's not at all. But that's it. I'm still playing, Pokopia, not really too much there. I've just been basically dipping in there for the dailies. I haven't had much time to actually sit down and have any extended play time with it. But I think the next thing I'm doing there, I've gone down into the Rocky Ridges or whatever. I've gone down into the cave and I've set up the kind of train tracks with the little trolleys and all of that kind of stuff, and I've opened up the furnaces where you can smelt ingots and stuff like that. So it's just it's good stuff.
Now you're crafting.
Yeah, for sure, and just
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, so I guess there's only one more area for me to open, right? Because I've opened up.
I'm not sure because you can go two different directions. So did you already go to the beach?
Yeah, I've opened up the beach. Yeah, I've opened up, obviously, you start in Withered Wasteland. I've opened up Bleak Beach, and I've opened up Rocky Ridges, and I've opened up, like, my area, too, like your sandbox area.
Yeah. There's one more area that you will open up that has story in it. But after that, you'll pretty much spend the majority of your time in the sandbox. I would guess at this point, I've spent about 2/3 of my time working in the sandbox area.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much more you can, like, there's effectively infinite space.
Yeah, like I've gotten the recipe for like the big things, like the kind of almost temple-sized things.
Oh yeah. Don't lose those because I lost it and had to go hunt every chest in the game I had put to find it.
Oh man, yeah, I put all that stuff in one place.
I did find it eventually. Yeah, so did I until I needed to empty out my inventory one day.
That's probably my biggest complaint about the game is just. There's no place to figure out what the hell is in all of your chests. You just lose shit.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there was. And like at some point when I was basically just working on the sandbox, I did runs into all of my towns to essentially exfil the contents of the chests in those places and bring them to the sandbox where I had set up a bunch of chests so I knew where everything was.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was just because, like, all my crafting is done in one place now, which I always know I have material ready.
Yeah, and what I wound up doing, too, is you get to the point where, well, when you start the game, you never have enough storage space. And then you eventually get the means to make a whole bunch of storage boxes, as many storage boxes as you want. So you make storage boxes and put them everywhere. Put them in every house. Put them in every little hut, every little stupid thing. And then you're like, oh crap, I don't know where the hell I put anything.
Yep. And so, like, when I first ran into this problem, I started building the big storage boxes, which store as much as 3 regular storage boxes.
Yep.
And just always putting them in front of the Poke Center. Mm-hmm. And then just emptying all the storage boxes in town. If I encountered one, I checked to see if anything was in it. If there was, I migrated all the stuff to the big storage box in the Poke Center.
Yeah.
And then I got rid of all the small ones. So, like, I knew if it was in a town, it was in the Poke Center. And then at most, I had to check every town to find the thing. But eventually, when the sandbox became sort of my workshop and anything I needed to make was made there, everything got migrated there.
Yeah.
And it just became completely out of hand. Like, I just ended up having chests on chests on chests.
Yep.
And I like, if I need gold, I've got like 600 bars of it. I know where it is.
Yeah, like I could see myself building like an Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse of just all like boxes, just with all of my stuff, you know?
That's basically what it turned into.
Yeah.
Like, it's just box after box after box of stuff. It's great.
Yeah,
I know where everything is.
Yeah, it's just funny. That game is just, it presents you with challenges where you would never think about it. But yeah. So still plenty to go there.
I am also still doing the dailies every day because I could do them in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, they're really quick, and you get recipes. Like like there's so many recipes, but that's what annoys me too, is that there's still recipes for very, very basic stuff where I just haven't gotten it. Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
You know?
I at this point am doing good. Like, the stuff I'm getting now is like the recipe for this very specific fucking poster.
Yeah.
Or like this particular wall pattern. But yeah, like there was the wireless electrical transmitter.
Yeah.
I got that very fucking late. And by very late, I mean after I had finished the story.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's the stupid little, like, in Withered Wasteland, the stupid little red brick things that outline the sides of the roads.
Oh, yeah.
All I want to do is just get that recipe and just finish off those roads so they're fixed.
I got it super late.
Yeah, I do not have it, and it drives me absolutely nuts.
I think I picked it up from one of the ripples in the water.
Oh, my God, yeah. Just drives me nuts.
And I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
Like,
I had the same reaction. I'm like, oh, thank God. But then I was never in Withered Wasteland anymore because it wasn't where I worked.
Yeah.
Like, that area was a solved problem, so I just never went there.
It drives me up the wall. I'm like, all I want to do is fix these roads and never look at them again.
Oh, yeah. For me, that was Bleak Beach. I was like, every spot that it indicates there was once a power pole here, I need to put one.
Well, the thing is, Bleak Beach is a problem because there's that entire area, like, there's that entire central area where, like, at a certain point you sit back and look at it and realize, wow, this was one huge area. Like this, and so you're kind of presented with the problem, like, should I try to recreate this? My question for you, is there something that lets you build stuff underwater?
Build stuff underwater.
Go down. In other words, could I rebuild that entire huge area by going down and placing blocks underwater? Because, you can't do that normally, you drown. But is there something where you can spend a long period of time underwater just placing blocks?
No. What I had to do when I had to rebuild in water area is I would drop into the space where I want to put blocks, spam them until I'm back above water level so I can breathe, and then step forward and do it again.
It's maniacal. This is what this game does to you. It makes you do dumb stuff like that.
So, but then what I would do is I would essentially wall up an area, and then I would drain it of water, and then I would just work in that space. So I would essentially dam the...
Yeah.
I basically treated it like the Netherlands, yes.
That is so funny.
My Pokopia Netherlands experience, which sounds like I did something far different.
Yeah, you could 100% do that. Now, were you draining it with the suck-up power where you suck water out?
Yes.
Man. Yeah.
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah. That would work.
And like
100%.
It did. Like I in the sandbox area, I built a new island because I needed to have like a big flat space, and I was like, well, I can level this mountain. That will take forever. And then I realized I needed another big flat space. So I leveled the mountain and used the debris from the mountain I leveled to make a new island to make the next one of those things.
Insane.
And so I built a series of dikes drained it of its water, and then filled it with rubble. Literally, in most cases, rubble. And then I put a grass layer on top, and it's just like, wow, this nice flat island the game built. And no! This nice flat island that I created.
Yep.
Like, I wanted to put an airport somewhere. We didn't have real estate for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. This game will make, like, if you want to, so I have completed the Pokedex. I have completed the Habitat Dex.
Mm-hmm.
I am missing like 100 recipes still.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, a lot of them are for like, here's 20 different recipes for different textures on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, sure. And the item Dex, fuck, that's never happening. But it still will have moments where I'm like, I want to see if I can build a skyscraper.
Mm-hmm. Like how high can you actually go?
You can go pretty fucking high.
Yeah.
But like I just wanted to build on my area. I just wanted to build a 3-story tall building for a set of legidaries. You know, the standard like ice, fire, electric legendary trio that you get all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to give them a tower they could all live in, and each one's floor would be themed with the right decor so they would love it. I built a stairwell based on a fire escape pattern using metal grates. And they got stuck on it and couldn't reach their door, so the only one who ever moved in was the one living on the ground floor. I spent 3 hours on this.
Oh man, yeah,
it's
like
fucked up.
Yeah, like that was like when you realize that, Pokemon just they have to have a clear line of sight to get to something.
Yeah. I built a bridge between islands on the area that you get, the sandbox area.
Mm-hmm.
And I put ledges on it so I wouldn't fall off.
Yeah. So
it's a nice flat walk all the way across, and I use that to run electrical. So like I put wires on it and stuff. So that way I connected the other islands, so I didn't have to deal with power generation and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 spaces wide, but Snorlax couldn't fucking cross it because his ass too fat.
Amazing.
So now it's 5 spaces wide, and it looks like I built a goddamn highway.
Yeah.
But everybody can cross it. Then I just put one of the you don't have it yet. There's a mechanism you can build to let people cross more easily, and then I just built one of those instead. I'm like, well, I'm glad I built this bridge to nowhere.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Now, can you run the power cables, like the above ground like power poles, right?
Yeah.
Can you run those underwater?
You can put them in water, but not if the cable is underwater, I think.
Okay. That would be pretty cool if you could do like an underwater electricity. That'd be awesome.
What I did to cross the gap between 2 islands was I jumped into the water, spammed the drop item or the drop terrain right under me button until I built a tower.
Mm-hmm.
Put one next to it, like so at the top of the tower, put a piece of terrain immediately in front of it. Walked onto that piece. There's nothing under me, but now the space I was standing on is free. Put the wire on it. Made sure it connected to the one I had done previously, and then punched the ground that I was standing on out so I fell back in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran to the next spot and started doing it again. I built power poles out of the water at risk of drowning so I could cross this ravine with electricity.
Man.
Was this the most efficient way to do it? It was for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is it now? No. But I did do it.
It's a game of compromises, ultimately.
It is. I had power everywhere.
Yep.
I have power running to every island in the sandbox. There's no reason for it. I don't have anything built in most of it, but I have it.
Yeah, it's Pokopia. It's just one of those games where you just like you play it and you're just like, this fucking game. Like, what do you even do with this?
Like I'm at if under the Switch thing over 140 hours.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. I've done just about everything.
I probably have about maybe 75 hours or something like that, I would guess at this point.
Yeah.
But it's just I can't really tell you what I've done really in those 75 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It's just they've just gone.
And every so often they drop these like event Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And like So Sableye was the last one. That was like last month.
Yep.
And you get they stick around. But when I got Sableye, I saw it was event Pokemon number 4, and I had a Hop Pip event Pokemon number 1, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, what are
Where
the other
two? So the other two are Hop Pip's evolutionary forms, which the items you can buy from Hop Pip at the start when he was there, you can use to make the habitats to summon them.
Oh, okay.
I had all that shit stored in a box and had to go find it. And then went and made those habitats. I just had to look up what the habitats were because there's no hint. Like, it's just like, you got to figure it out. So I just went on Cerebi and looked them up, and I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made them. And then I had all the event Pokemon now. But I mean, there'll be more. Like, I don't know how long they're going to keep that going, but honestly, like, I am not going to be surprised if they announce paid DLC for this game. Because I don't think you can make a sequel.
No, I don't think so either.
Because Dragon Quest Builders got a sequel.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you can make a sequel to this game because it has a definitive ending.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Quest Builders, just because the Dragon Quest universe goes on forever, they just built another. They just said like, all right, this is 200 years later. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at all if we get DLC that's like another area, some story, and 20 new Pokemon.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, I actively want that. Like, I would buy that right now.
Yeah, I would be thrilled to get that. Mm-hmm. And it'd be like, oh, here's another 15 hours of my life I get to give this game.
Yeah.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
And especially before everything's documented, there is some fun in just being like, how do I get this fucker to spawn?
Yeah.
When I was trying to get the last Tatsugiri form, which is this fish, it's like a goldfish. Apparently how the game works is the first one you get spawns easy. Then the next one you get, it becomes harder to spawn.
Mm-hmm. Like
the probability gets lower. And then the third one, it drops again. Now, which one you get first is just kind of random, I guess. So I built like 19 of the habitat, which is like a fishing habitat with a beach chair, and put the security camera on them. Mm-hmm. So you'd get an alert when a new Pokemon shows up.
Yep.
I covered the beach in my sandbox area with that same habitat over and over and over because it increases your odds.
Yeah.
It still took 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a really rare spawn.
I was so mad. And when I got an alert, a new Pokemon is spotted by security camera 11 because I had a billion of these things to cover the whole beach. I fucking hauled ass over there. Like, I had Pokemon trying to stop to talk to me, and I'm like, no time! Move, you fuck! Oh my god. John, this game is dangerous.
It's so good.
So, like, we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the new digital pack-in game for the Switch 2. I hope Nintendo one day releases the stats of what people picked. Because, like, from a pure economic standpoint, picking Mario Kart 8 is the right call. It's $10 more expensive than the other ones, than Donkey Kong or Pokopia. But I would not be surprised at all if Pokopia is the broadly picked choice. Because, I mean, fuck. This game is really good. I want to see when Konami announces, not Konami, fuck. Who made this fucking game, John?
What, Square Enix? You mean?
Square Enix didn't make it.
You mean Pokopia?
Pokopia, yeah.
Pokopia.
Was it Namco Bandai?
Yeah, who did make it?
I think it was Namco Bandai. I'd be curious how much money they made. Like, are they getting a cut?
Yeah.
I hope they're getting a cut.
That's the thing. Like, I haven't heard much mention of how it's sold. I mean, I know it's sold well.
Tecmo Koei, that's it. It's Tecmo Koei, yeah. Because Omega Force made this.
Right, it's Omega Force. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it sold very well.
Yeah.
This is one of those, like, we only have I think less than a quarter's worth of data on it because it was, it came out mid-quarter. And so then we have the numbers. But according to that, dedicated top-selling titles. I always pick the wrong one. I think dedicated video game sales, and I think, that's going to be games. That's the video games, right? No, that's consoles. It was at 2.41 million, and I think it had only been a few weeks.
Yeah, it says here on Wikipedia, as of March 2026, the game has sold 4 million units. So that's as of March.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And this is a game where good. I would unreservedly recommend this game for anybody. I mean, if I love this game, anybody could love this game, man. It is ridiculously charming. It's fantastic.
And like it, more so than most games, it does a lot to like, hey, use social media. Because they want you to take pictures of Pokemon doing goofy shit.
Yep.
You'll get alerts that like, an event's happening, get out your camera.
Yeah.
And it's Mew and Mewtwo doing stunts. And it's like, yeah, I'll take that. And they want you to put, like, they make it as easy as they can in the confines of Nintendo's ecosystem to post that to social media. Which, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that game creates very charming imagery that will definitely FOMO people into buying Switch 2s.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Kart World is at 14.7 million, just in case anybody's wondering. At least as of the end of last quarter.
Yep.
That is so many fucking copies, Jesus.
It's a lot of copies.
It's a pack-in.
Yep.
It's a pack-in. I get it. But still, that's a lot of copies.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking copies. Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
All right, excellent. Guillaume.
Yeah.
What are you up to?
Unfortunately, I'm still up to the same stuff that I've been up to for the past few weeks.
Fair.
It's, I'm not going to talk about the 100 line Last Defense Academy, because I got really nothing new to say, except that I'm now on a path where I am, kind of learning some new stuff that puts a new context on stuff that I've already seen. So that's interesting. It's more interesting than everyone has a fish head for a head, or kiss all these 3 different girls. These were not serious paths, but this one is.
You say that, but they're serious to me. Yeah,
well, anyway, so I'm getting revelations, but I'm definitely not getting the good ending still. So it's a little bit dispiriting. Ever since I came back from Japan, I had the goal of at least going through a credit card cycle without buying new games. Because I need to replenish the fun funds, I need to...
they took a hit.
Yeah. And so I thought also, I'm going to finish so many games during this month. This is a good way for me to just get rid of some of the backlog. I got rid of exactly 0 of the backlog. It's been this game from beginning to end. So, yeah. Maybe I need to do a second month of not buying any games. But
I'm proud of you, Guillaume, about not tackling that backlog. I'm proud of you.
Oh my God! How many?
I'm trying. It's just not effective.
How long does it take you to get an ending on average in 100 line?
It really depends. I got there was this one path that had a cluster of endings. It was a dead end all the way, but it gave me a dozen choices, and they all led to the not good ending. So that was great. I was like, oh yes, fuck yeah! I'm just clearing endings left and right. But then you're gonna have another path that actually makes you play through most of the 100 days, because sometimes the game will fast forward past a certain number of days, maybe something, an event in the game happens, your character is in a coma or something, wakes up, 2 weeks later. So you do sometimes jump forward on some paths and not others. But yeah, when you are on a path that just doesn't jump forward very much and forces you to read a lot of dialogue, it takes about, at least 5-6 hours.
Okay.
But
Sizable.
I say that, I'm I'm not even sure. It takes me several evenings to get through the one path, and so that's when I kind of despair a little bit. Because then, like, at the end of it, I'm just gonna, that ending count is just gonna tick one up, despite all the hours that I put into it.
Oof.
But I did, as I said, I didn't really want to talk about this.
No, that's fair.
But I haven't really been playing much else, but I guess I can talk about something that I've been playing. I played like several months ago, and I kind of forgot about to talk about it. But I played through Panorama Cotton. So Cotton is like I've talked about Cotton Reboot and about maybe like the original Cotton game, I'm not sure. But anyway, I've talked about this series before. It's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, a cute-em-up, as they say, because the graphics are cute. But you're, flying from the left to the right and shooting everything in sight. I quite liked Cotton Reboot. It was like just, a remake of the original game, but with like this really interesting scoring system, and it did really weird stuff that was not in the original game. Like, because kind of like the bells in Twin B, there are these crystals that you can shoot at in Cotton that make them turn different colors. And so, like, if you can shoot them, if you can juggle them for a while, get the color that you want, you'll get like a different power up, or you'll get like more points, or you'll get extra health or whatever. But in the Cotton Reboot, I guess I don't need to get back into that, but to talk about that. But there was also like the fact that you could, instead of just picking up the crystals, you could keep shooting at them, and your lasers or your projectiles would refract or like get split by the crystals that you were shooting at, and the screen would be filled with crystals, and like they would all kind of split your projectiles, and like it would just fill the entire screen with your bullets. Anyway, it was cool. It was like very pretty, and it was a lot of fun. So that was years ago that I played that. Panorama Cotton is not a side-scrolling shoot 'em up. It's actually a why am I blanking on this now? What would be
Space Harrier?
Space Harrier. Thank you.
Kind of game, yes.
So it's a Space Harrier like. So you're playing as the same little witch, trying to collect sweets or whatever. But yeah, like so except that this time the view is from behind. You're flying towards the screen basically, and you're shooting at everything that moves. And usually the sprites are very cute, and there's lots going on. It's very colorful. But it is also very busy. It's a game that came out on the Saturn. It might have had an arcade version. I'm not sure quite what I'm playing here. Like what system this game is a port from, but probably the Saturn. It's very fast. But I would say it doesn't look as clean as something like Space Harrier.
No, because Space Harrier was using just different technology. This was originally a Mega Drive game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I heard Mega Drive,
shit.
And
Okay.
I always found that a little bit interesting because, of course, the Mega Drive was a little bit paradoxical in the sense that it launched with a lot of arcade conversions, as one might expect, right? Because Sega was a titan in the arcade space at the time, and that's a lot of what Master System was. And now we've got hardware that's a little bit closer, to some of the machines in the arcade at that point. And of course, Sega was also very famous for the superscalar games like Space Harrier and Outrun and Afterburner and Galaxy Force and so on. But the Mega Drive hardware was not really very capable of delivering that kind of experience at all, on the evidence of those early games, especially, like Space Harrier 2, the Galaxy Force 2 version, I think, is especially sad, although that is quite an advanced Superscaler game. You know, they were kind of biting off more than they could chew there a little bit. Whereas, of course, Super Nintendo, while, you know, its slow processor and some other aspects of it didn't really make it the greatest place for arcade-style experiences in many cases, it did have the sprite scaling and rotation kind of effects as one of its main kind of selling points, you know, of how much more advanced it was than certainly the NES, but even other consoles on the market, and it gave us stuff like F-Zero. So, yeah, it always could have made me... I've always found that strange, you know, that a company, you know, that had so much success with stuff like Space Harrier then delivered a console hardware that really couldn't replicate it well at all. Although I think weirdly, because this is just the kind of thing that M2 do to satisfy themselves, they like have a reprogrammed version of Space Harrier 2 on one of those Mega Drive minis that's like, see, they could have done it better on this hardware.
Right. If only they had known what we know now 30 years ago.
And even then, it's still not, you know, a great... You did have to wait until the Saturn to get, like, some of those Superscaler games done much closer, at least, to quote-unquote arcade perfect. So, yeah, it struck me as a strange choice for of a platform here for this particular Cotton game.
Yeah, and I mentioned the Saturn. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page now, and I see that it's never come out on the Saturn. So I don't know which Cotton game I'm actually thinking of. But yeah, this would be the Mega Drive game, I guess. And so that explains a little bit why it looks a little bit crummy, which I don't know. Yeah, it explains a lot, I guess. So Panorama Cotton on the Switch. Looks a little bit crummy. I was surprised by that, but now that I know it's a Mega Drive game, I'm like, okay. Now I get it. It's fun enough, but yeah, like it's very busy. It's also fairly difficult, and yeah, like from what I recall from playing through it, I did manage to finish the game, but not without just completely abusing the rewind feature. Because yes, there is a quote-unquote standard mode and an original mode. So if you play the original mode, you can't, basically you can't rewind and you can't use save states or cheats that they add in the game. And if you play the standard mode, then yes, you're allowed to just hold down the LR, the L button to rewind and undo your mistakes. So that helps a lot. And also you can use save states, and the cheats are something like you can make yourself invincible or just like, you know, give yourself max power at all times. Because yeah, like the gameplay, you know, like there are just the three buttons. Again, now that I know it's a Mega Drive game, makes a lot of sense. The A button on the Mega Drive would make you change the speed of the game. I don't know if I found really places where that's really required. Like, I think that I was usually forgetting that button existed, and I was fine. But maybe there are some places where it would have made sense to perhaps slow down the action or speed it up, and maybe I could have gotten out of certain scrapes without actually using the rewind button. I have no idea. And then of course, like, you've got the button that you can just hold down to shoot continuous fire, and then you've got these power-ups, and yeah, like as I said, like they're dependent on these crystals, the color of the crystals that you pick up, and they do various things. They can be like kind of heat-seeking missiles, or just like, you know, shields or stuff like that. As you play through the game, like if you get hit, you can get downgraded. You can get downgraded. But if you can just like keep hitting stuff, keep getting points without getting hit, there is a meter that levels up, and like you can go from level 1 to level 5, and your shots do more damage when you reach level 5. So that's what I was talking about earlier when I said there's a cheat to have max level. You can just, you know, turn that on and not have to worry so much about getting hit. Yeah, like it's I guess it's a fun one of those if you are into, you know, if you've played like all of them, all the Sega ones, like we just named it,
the Cute-em-ups.
Oh my God, Galaxy Force or whatever.
The rail shooters.
The rail shooters.
I guess like some of Thunder Force, it kind of the helicopter one kind of plays like that, but then it also has like the top down stages too. But yeah, they did a lot after Burner. Yeah, we mentioned.
Yeah, so you might want to look into this. Yeah, and especially if you are into cute 'em ups, like usually the Sega ones are not that whimsical, not this whimsical, Yeah, the one thing I would say is that the Cotton Reboot, which was a different type of game, it was a side-scrolling shooter, had a whole lot more in terms of features, because you did have the online leaderboards and stuff like that. This game does not have anything of the sort. So you're playing like you're not going to be competing against your friends or against complete strangers. Like, there's no online leaderboards, anything. And literally, like, all you get is some cheats if you play the standard version, like the rewind feature, and that's about it. Like, there's no, you can't, there's not a lot of options to dig into to change things. But yeah, there's really nothing else to say about it. Like, I played it for a few hours. I got what I wanted out of it. I probably got it in deep discount, so know what you're getting into if you get this. I guess I think
they're on sale currently. I think all the
really?
various, because there's quite a few of them, isn't there? Between Reboot and the Cotton 100%, the 70
and I guess like the this one stands out because it is a different perspective, right? It's a different genre. So if you were going to pick, a second Cotton game, I guess I would make this the second Cotton game that you pick up, because it's different from the other ones, right?
If you get one Cotton's game, not this one. But if you get two Cotton games...
Well, yeah, if you get the one Cotton game, Reboot is definitely the best, most modern, most fun, and most fully featured. And I will end on this. Like, they just announced that they're releasing the sequel to Reboot in the West.
They did.
So it's called Cotton Reboot High Tension, I believe. And so, so it's the sequel. So it's using the gameplay gimmicks that they introduced in the Reboot. But it's a newer game. It's completely original as far as I can tell. So I haven't played it. I can't recommend it, but yeah, it's coming. So be aware of that.
I don't know why, but Cotton is Coming is just an excellent title. It's like Gabbo, but weirder.
Sure.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's take a break here because we're at about an hour. And we come back, we'll do a little bit more new business. So stay tuned. We are back with more new business. I always want to say listener mail when I say we are back like that, but I'm not saying listener mail. I'm saying new business because we have more new business to cover. Specifically, my new business. Greg has also been playing a little bit of this. I have been playing Mina the Hollower, which came out as we were recording last week. I'm about 15 hours in. I have cleared 3 of the 6 dungeons that they at least talk about at the beginning of the game. I assume there's some kind of post clearing the dungeons thing you have to do. I have a lot to say, but I don't know how much I want to say. So I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna try to put my thesis statement in place here, which is I think Dark Souls is a bad thing for video games. This is not to say that I think Dark Souls is bad. I want to be clear about that. I think the team making that game knows exactly what they want to make and knows exactly how to express what they want because they've done a bunch of them. I think the first Dark Souls might actually have real problems, like the fact that they had to walk back some of the curse, where you could just get cursed over and over again, and it kept having your max health further and further. They walked that back because they're like, yeah, this is fucked up. I I think they've learned lessons and understand what they're trying to make and have cultivated an audience that is receptive to it. I think when I say it's bad for video games, it's bad because producers and directors and designers have played it and say, I can do that too. And they can't. And this, to me, is a textbook case of someone trying to apply, we're going to make a Dark Souls, but it's also a whatever. And just not understanding the assignment. So this Mina the Hollower has a lot of things going for it. I mean, it is a platforming game made by the makers of Shovel Knight. They know what they are doing. But it feels like when I play this game, it consistently makes an effort to undermine the things that it's doing well with 1 to 3 decisions that ultimately I would put into the bucket of designer hates the player. And that bucket is usually things I reserve for the designer of this game did something that manifestly is not really adding to the fun, but feels like it's punitive, vindictive, feels like it's just an extra layer of stuff you have to do in order to get to the good stuff. Sometimes it's just bullshit. And I mean this in a generic sense. I'm not speaking specifically about Mina. You saw this a lot in like Super Nintendo era. I in fact stole that phrase from classic game streamer Smite, who when he reviews games from that era has a score specifically for hates the player based on how much the game hates them. And since he's explicitly hunting bad games, that score is often very high. A lot of times it deals with things like games that were made harder to deal with the rental game epidemic in North America. Like they end up with a really high hates the player score because there's no continues or it's one hit kill from an enemy, things like that. Mina the Hollower is a roguelite. Well, not really. It's a game where you can lose your level up stuff. That's really all it is. You can lose your experience, which is also your money. And it's a game where you die and you get taken back to the checkpoint, and then you have to try to work your way back to where you were and keep trying to progress. It's sort of wrapped in the mechanics of a 2D Zelda game. And when I say the mechanics, I don't want you to overread into that. I mean into the way that the world is structured as a bunch of scrolling squares, although they're not squares anymore because it's for 16:9. But you get the idea. Screens. And they are connected on, generally speaking, 1 to 4 sides. And you can sort of move around to try to explore this world they've built. Mina is a hollower, as the name implies. That is her profession. It largely seems to deal with the fact that they dig these tunnels underground and create what are referred to as the underlabs. There are other hollowers. The underlabs are essentially your checkpoint. It's where you go to heal. It's where you go to refill your vials. This game's equivalent of Dark Soul vials. They look the same. And it's also where you go to cash in bones, which is the currency of this game. There are 2 classes of bones. There are the bones you can't lose and the ones you can. This lets you convert the ones you can't lose into spending. Again, this is Firelink Shrine stuff. Although you can level up anywhere. So that is different than Firelink Shrine stuff. There is also the ability to change your default weapon here. You could buy other upgrades for this space, but that's basically it. The world is big. This is a very big world, and the dungeons take place in the world. They're not segregated off into their own spaces. You don't enter a door and now you're in the dungeon. They are part of the world. And insofar as they are dungeons, many times they're just like an area you have to cross. They are structurally the dungeon. But they're functionally the dungeon, but structurally they're just part of the game world. Like I'm stuck in Snow Peak right now, which fucking sucks. And that is technically the dungeon because I've beaten the mini boss there. But I never went into a door. There was never a discrete indicator that says "Welcome to Dungeon." It was very much its own thing. This is a massive game, massive game, and it's not always easy to navigate because a lot of these areas look very much the same, and the screens aren't regular. They're not like in the 2D Zelda games. They are largely all the same shape. That is not the case here. Many of them are big. Some of them are small. Many of them have scrolling inside of them until you hit the edge of one, and then you go to the next screen. They are themed. So there's areas on the map, and they all use the same tile set, and then you go to another area that uses a different tile set. There's a lot of one-way doors in this game. So like you if you think about like the ledges you can jump off of in one direction, but you can't walk the other way over them. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of things you have to dig because Mina as a hollower can burrow, and that's the primary mechanical skill that she has. She digs underground and can move around for a defined amount of time. And you could use that as a boost jump. Game never tells you any of this stuff. You got to just figure it out on your own. Like there's the Mario 2 Goombas walking at you situation where it's a 2 wide square you have to jump over. And Mina's jump only goes, I believe it's 1.2 squared. Yeah, 1.2 squares of length. So if you don't basically stand right at the edge of a pit and jump, you won't make the jump. But Mina doesn't have like a locked grid-based movement, so that can be a challenge sometimes. But the issue I was going to illustrate here, there's no game map, like at all. There's a thing you can get that gives you like a picture of the game world, but it's just a drawing. It doesn't assist in navigation in any meaningful way. And unlike a Dark Souls, where I can just warp to any of the Firelink shrines, I cannot warp to the Underlabs. The Underlabs, you just have to reach them. There is some quick travel in this game, but it's very limited. It's basically between towns. And then there is another one that's more like, would you say Super Mario World has quick travel because of the star roads? I wouldn't. Yes, you can get from one place to another more quickly, but only kinda. It has that kind of a thing. But again, it only takes you to a handful of places. So it expects you to navigate on foot to all the various places, and then to navigate back on foot. There might be a shortcut, there might not be. But it is a constant process of walking, essentially. And with no map, that fucking sucks. I lost an entire day. Was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. An entire night of playing. I had just cleared the second, for lack of a better word, dungeon. It's not really a dungeon. And did not know where to go. Did not know how to get back to town. And was just wandering. And it's tough. This is a very difficult game. And we've had conversations in the past of punishment versus difficulty. A game that's really hard should not be particularly punishing for failure, because when they made the game, they expected the player to fail. If you make a game that is punishing and difficult, you have made a mistake, because ultimately what you're doing is you're creating the situation that leads to frustration. And how Mina the Hollower punishes is twofold. One of them is you have these blue orbs, and you start with one, and every time you die, you drop a blue orb. And you can recollect them. You can pick them up from the ground, if it's an enemy that killed you, you can kill the enemy that has it. This includes bosses. So it's not like in Hollow Knight where you died and you dropped your money and your money was just sitting there. So as long as you made it to the boss room, you'd be okay. That is also the Dark Souls mechanism, by the way. If you make it to the boss room, you're okay. How it attempts to mitigate this is you can have more than one of these blue orbs. I think they're called like spirit orbs. I currently have 4, and one of them is I get through an item that I've got, but like my base is 3 and I have 4. I have to die 4 times and then die again to lose my money. So the odds of that happening are pretty low, particularly because I have the item that gives me a 4th one causes other ones that are in the space to come over to me. But before I had that item, I only had 2. And I had a boss that I was fighting that had the 2 of them in him because they can hold them. And I had to basically, I don't think I had to beat him, but I think I had to get him to like half health to get him to drop one, which sucked because it's hard. And so I ended up losing a bunch of bones, which sucked. It really sucked. I did not like that. But honestly, that's not where the game is punishing. The game is punishing in that it fucking loves runbacks. Mina the Hollower has never met a runback it didn't like. no matter how fucking miserable the area you have to run through is. There is an area in the ice space I was talking about earlier that has moving platforms, rail jumping, which is basically turbo tunnel bullshit, wind, enemies shooting at you from out of reach, pits, collapsing floors, and ice physics. And it's about 6 screens from the underlab to the boss fight. So I have 4 vials. I was getting to the boss fight with like 1 or 2 if I had a good run. A lot of times what it does, though, to try to make things easier is there are shortcuts that you unlock. So you do a whole bunch of climbing and platforming. You get to the top of a ledge and you cause a rope to drop. So you can climb that rope and then you bypass all that bullshit you had to do earlier. And that's how they sort of like expedite your movement to make things easier. And the game does an okay job of putting those in there, but sometimes it just doesn't. It just says like, no, we're not going to do any of those here. Or you break a wall and now Mina can burrow under something and just bypass whole sections of the stage. So I had to do that whole stage every time I wanted to fight that boss, which meant it's like 5 or 6 minutes to the boss. And it was a hard boss to fight. It was a difficult fight. And so that was frustrating. But what the decision I think is the worst in this game, I think there's a lot of bad decisions, but the one I think is the worst is how recovery works. Greg already knows how it works, so I'm going to ask John. You've played some Dark Souls. I have a vial system. It refills when you go to the shrine / underlabs. Mm-hmm. You can upgrade how many you're carrying. If I drink from a vial, it has wind up, and I can be knocked out of it. If I drink from a vial, how much health do you think I should get back? Should I get a little health? Or should I get all of my health? Or should I get some of my health?
I mean, I think it would be fair to maybe get, I don't know, all of your health back, probably.
What if I told you it's possible you would get none of your health back?
That is not fair.
Yeah.
At all.
So how this game works is your health meter has 2 colors. Well, 3 colors technically. Empty, which means you're dead. Red, which is your health. And then yellow, which I can't remember what they call it. They use a term from blood science. I just can't remember what it was. It starts with a V. And when you take damage, both the yellow and the red drop. So if you have full health, you don't see any yellow. They both drop. And that yellow is how much you can recover your health. If you drink a potion right now, you will fill up the entirety of the yellow. This is kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom, where it's like there's 2 levels of the health bar, and if you swap somebody out, they'll start recovering the damaged bar.
Yeah, that's what I thought, especially given the colours involved. Although I think they're kind of flipped, right?
Yes, they are flipped.
Like your main health would be the yellow bar in the Capcom context, and then the red stuff would be what can be recovered, whereas it's flipped. Yep.
The only way to recharge or to get your health back is to get the yellow stuff up and then pop the vial. And to get the yellow stuff up, you either pick up flowers, which are pretty rare. They're dropped by shrubbery, and maybe you get them 1 out of 6 screens. That only refills it a little bit. Or to damage enemies. And that means you got to get in there and do damage while you're low on health and not get hit yourself. Because if you get hit, that yellow drops hard. Particularly bosses that can take away like a third of your health with 1 hit. You might have to hit them 6 or 7 times to make healing useful. But if they hit you, you're back to square one. Or actually, you're past square one. You're at square -1 now. So it's this weird, if I can get away and pop the vial, because if you get hit mid-usage of the vial, 1, you lose the vial, and 2, you don't heal anything. And that animation is not short. It's about a second. But the fact that I have to get in there when my health is really low and try to recharge how much I can recover and then pop it when I'm safe and recover, but maybe not. Maybe I get hit and I lose all that effort to rebuild how much I'm able to recover, and I lose the potion, and I don't get any health back. In a boss fight where they're just spawning shit constantly, which a lot of the bosses do, that's really annoying.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it makes it so that you can't even learn the boss effectively.
Right. Yeah, and there are boss rooms that have spikes and pits in them, which will also damage that yellow. It's like, why? Why are we doing this? But the real kick in the ass is platforming challenges, where there was one where it's a bunch of rails, and if you land on the rail, you careen out of control at high speed along the rail, and you might be able to turn at a corner, but you'll have to make jumps, and the screen is moving really fast, and these jumps are not quite blind, but you don't get a lot of time to respond to them. It expects you to fail a bunch of times. That damages your health, but in these spaces, if there's no enemies, there's no way to get the yellow back up so you can heal. So you might have 4 potions, and they're completely useless. Like, they have no value at all. And so you're just going to die. You're going to die. You're going to drop one of the orbs. You're going to have to come back and try again. And who knows how far back that checkpoint was. And like, you could take any of these decisions in a vacuum, remove them, i.e. don't hate your player, and make the game less frustrating. You could give me a map so I'm not fucking around so much and getting stuck in these situations where like I've lost an orb and I don't know where it is. I have to go wander around to try to find it. Or I know where I need to go, so I'm not fucking around and constantly in fear of death. Or you can make it so healing just heals. Like, it just fucking heals. And you don't have to worry about all this other bullshit. And then it's more of a tactics thing. Or you could make it so when I heal, I get some iframes, so I'm not worried about getting hit while I'm trying to heal, but the boss who's just constantly spawning waves of bullet hell attacks. Or you could put a checkpoint right outside the boss. Now, what I'm sure somebody who loves this game is saying is like, well, you could turn all that stuff on. Yes. The game has a bunch of things you can do to try to make it easier, but it always gives you like, you won't be able to get any of the achievements or anything if you've got this turned on. Some of them are just basic stuff like, hey, I want a checkpoint outside of the bosses. I don't think you should make a game and don't put checkpoint outside the bosses. The Dark Souls team doesn't. They put firelinks pretty close to the bosses because they know you're going to get your ass kicked. If you're proud of your bosses because you're like, oh, these things are difficult, then make it so the player gets a chance to appreciate how difficult they are, rather than what often happens of, I'm just incredibly stressed when I get to the boss because I don't want to do all this bullshit again. Like, even if it's a boss I appreciate, oftentimes the only bosses I've enjoyed are the ones that I was able to tear apart quickly because I didn't have to live with that pit of my stomach feeling of, fuck, I have to go redo all this shit again. And that's the punishment versus difficulty thing. Like, if the boss is super hard, I don't care that it's really hard if I just be able to get right back in there and do it again. But if it's both, if it's going to take me a while to get there and the cost of failure is high and then it's really hard and I don't really get a chance to learn anything, or I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly, it's going to negatively impact the entire impression of the game. And so while there's a lot of things I think this game does well, I think broadly speaking, Mina controls well. I think the scenarios that expect you to use her controls are ill-conceived. You shouldn't have ice physics with collapsing floors with wind. Like, are you fucking for real? Like, those are things that people hate in 2D Zelda dungeons on their own. Combining them makes you a sick fuck. Nobody ever said, I wish this ice dungeon had wind and collapsing floors, but... Oh, and, like, effectively blind jumps. This game has a bunch of jumps that it loves that are just blind. Like, you dig under a barrier, and it expects you to release the button on the other side of the barrier, because the dig and the jump button are the same button. It expects you to release it on the other side, which is a little bit timing-based. There's a little bit of play there. To jump over a pit. But you can't see the pit when you dug under the barrier. It's only coming out the other side. So it just expects you to know it's there, which probably means a lot of times you could have seen it earlier, but you probably had to platform a whole bunch to get there. So you've almost certainly forgotten. So it's just one of those things where like, I guess you better remember it next time. And when you fail a jump, you're not put right on the last steady ground. You're put wherever the game thinks is the last safe ground. And sometimes that's really far back. Another thing that is obnoxious. And I gave it to Greg as an example. And I'm going to use it since we're talking about Zelda because they want to talk about Zelda. They want to talk about Zelda so much. Imagine in a 2D Zelda game, if every time you fought Keese, for those who aren't aware, they're like the little bird bats. They fly. They're bird bats. They fly. If they could fly over your head. And so when you attack them, it doesn't hurt them unless you jump and hit them. That's annoying, but whatever. But what if they also hit you when they fly overhead? So they don't have to, you don't have to jump into them. They'll just hit you. It's not a big deal until there's a boss with an ice stage and pits all around his stage who flies and can shoot shit at you in a bullet hell situation. Like, it's just this constant, like, hey, you're doing something neat here. This is working well. And then, like, actually, here's a combination of bad things. And, like, I can change a lot of these with the modifiers. But the modifiers feel like they take you closer to what the game should have been, and the modifiers should make it harder for better rewards. Like, not the other. And there are modifiers to make the game harder. There are modifiers that are like, enemies only give half experience. Going into the Underlab only recovers half health. I can't even imagine why the fuck you'd want to do that. That sounds terrible. But just give a map, man. These are like really basic things where it feels like they said we're gonna make this difficult game. People are gonna respect how hard our game is, and it's like, no, actually, I don't. I think you're an asshole.
Yeah, it's like not having a map is just, it just feels like it's just unnecessarily punitive, or it's like, yeah, it's not like that's an admirable design choice or a bold design choice. It's just stupid. Right. Like,
it feels like.
Yeah, it makes the game harder to get around in. It doesn't even make it more difficult. It just makes it more impenetrable.
Yeah, it feels like any time they innovated, so they took somebody else's idea and tried to innovate on it, they made it worse. The vials are manifestly worse than the Dark Soul vials. The flasks, they just are. The fact that they just don't heal you, that there's this extra mechanic you have to manage, which you actually can just go in the options and disable if you don't want to get achievements and want the game to make fun of you, basically. There's nothing of value in this. It does force you to play more aggressively, but it basically just forces you to spam attacks on an enemy and hope for the best. And there are bosses I've fought that basically I just did a rundown and said, all right, well, let's just hope for the best. And I just got lucky and beat them. But it feels like that's almost what it wants you to do in some of these cases. All right, here's a good example. Mina has knockback. She gets hit when she gets knocked back. There's an item you can get very early in the game that mitigates knockback. It doesn't remove it. It mitigates it. Okay, sure. If you get hit, you get knocked back. That makes sense. What if I told you when you hit an enemy with the sword, which is the weapon that I started the game with, you still get knocked back? You get knocked backwards when you hit an enemy with a sword. Not a lot, but a little bit. Do they get knocked backwards? No, listener, they do not get knocked backwards. There are a handful of enemies that get knocked backwards performatively, like they get shot across the screen like they're selling for Hulk Hogan. But like ultimately, they're sung like they are Ric Flair. Ultimately, you don't get knockback for most enemies. You hit them and they just keep coming. Or they get a little knockback. But you also get knocked back. And a lot of times you're fighting on these very narrow, like 1 square wide platforms while enemies are flying in at you. What the fuck? Like, why would you make me get knockback when I hit them? That's dumb. It's just dumb. At the beginning of the game, you get to pick a weapon. There are 3 choices, I think. I picked the sword, the daggers. And the daggers only hit in the cardinal directions. Up, down, left, right. There are enemies who can stand just slightly to your left, and you will miss. But they won't. They have a swing on their attacks. There is a weapon that has a swing in it, but you won't get it for a while. Whatever weapon you pick, that's the one you're stuck with for a bit. Unless you want to restart the game. It's like, but what's the point of this stuff? Like these are decisions where I get we want to make this game really hard. But like I don't get the idea where this is supposed to make the game really fun. Like I'm sure there's some sick freaks out there who are like, no, this makes the game better, but That's a you problem, brother. You're a masochist. I congratulate you on the discovery of your personal sexual fetish, but like it doesn't materially improve the game to not give you a map or to have enemies knock you back when you hit them.
Yeah, this is the sort of stuff where you look back at a game like, like the original NES Ninja Gaidens, and you look at it and you say, whew, that was unnecessary. I'm really glad we've moved past that kind of stuff.
Right. Like, yeah, you wanted to prevent people renting this game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you did it. No one's renting this game!
No.
Like, what is the point? But it's also a huge game.
Yeah.
So it's not like, if it was short and you had all this bullshit, all right, I guess. Like, I get where the do damage to recovery came from. It came from Hollow Knight with the masks. But those are easy to recharge. I might have to hit an enemy 6 or 7 times to get enough charged in my health meter to feel like it's worth popping the potion. I hit an enemy 2 times in Hollow Knight, I've got a mask back. And so, like, I get where it came from. I see the origin of this. I actually didn't like it that much in Hollow Knight either. But this is so much worse. And it's all in the mechanics of a 2D Zelda, but not a 2D Zelda because you're not moving on a grid-based pattern. There is a lot going on here that I think is good, but there's so much on here where it makes the experience worse materially. And like, I even think the visual style looks muddied sometimes because they're still clinging to 8-bit. But I'm playing the Switch 2 version. I'm looking at 8-bit on a 4K screen. It can be really hard to tell what's damaging and what isn't. And oftentimes the color palette's not that helpful on it. You're looking at 2 different purple liquids. One of them you can stand on, one of them you can't. How do you know which one's which? Try and fail. It's not like materially obvious. This one you can walk on, this one kills you. And these are just things where it's like, it didn't have to be that way. There's so many things you could do to better telegraph what's going to hurt you, to make the enemies behave more or less under the same rules you behave under. If you can't hit them from a swing and attack, they shouldn't be able to hit you, to make the knockback more equitable. To make bosses easier to get to so you can learn them. To make healing easier. Like I said, yes, you can go into the menu and change the settings and make these things happen. And I applaud them for doing that. But effectively, it's just undoing their own fuck up and putting it in a menu. Like, make this crap the option, not the other way around. And it sucks because like now whatever Yacht Club's next game is, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to sit there and wait because the reviews came out for this. They were relatively positive. But I don't know what enhancements these people were playing with. And I've read some of the reviews and I'm like, I just don't agree with that review on a fundamental level. It's like we're playing a different game. And so like, if you didn't jive with Mega Man 2, you might not like Mega Man 2 is the absolute worst barometer to rate this game against because Mega Man 2 is a bunch of linear stages that don't have like when you pick up a health item, you get health. Mega Man 2 is a very black and white sort of game. This game is all kinds of shades of gray. And so that's a bad comparison. Like Mega Man 2 is just pure, can you solve the problem of this room? There is some of that here, but there's other stuff going on as well that makes it more difficult. But like the most basic thing, the fact that I can't warp around. Like, that might seem mundane, but I'm deep in this ice dungeon. I want to leave and gain some experience so I can level up one of my 3 stats, or get some new equipment. I have to trek backwards. And it's entirely possible because of a one-way door, I can't go backwards. I have to keep going forward. And so I can't just leave. And I certainly can't just come back. I'm going to have to replay the stage. I won't have to fight the bosses again, thank God. But I'll have to replay the stage to get back to where I was. And that blows. It just blows. And it's just this constant feeling of it didn't need to be like this. This is frustrating for the sake of being frustrating, so you can say you've made a difficult game for gamers. I told these guys before the show, if I had bought this on Steam, I would have refunded it. Because honestly, I think personally that's where this game should be.
So, why do you think this game gets such glowing reviews?
I think it's a mix of things. I think there are actual sickos out there who are like, oh, all this shit's great. I think there are probably some reviewers who have turned on a bunch of the settings, so it's not a fucking nightmare. And
I've also seen that some people were saying, like, just if you just grind for a bit, it completely changes the difficulty curve. Like, just at the beginning, like, you just, like, get 1 or 2 levels, and then you go out there.
At the beginning, yes, but some cases it's more just like what it's asking for you in terms of like hyper precision platforming on a moving platform and stuff. It's not even necessarily about your level. It's just about this is hard to do, and to do it for 5 or 6 screens to get to the next checkpoint is asking a lot of the player. But yeah, like grinding can help, but like it's a finite help. It doesn't solve some of the problems in the world with just navigating. But yeah, like there are some bosses that essentially grinding was the answer. But again, because I can't leave and come back easily, needing to grind sucks. Because it means I need to go find a place I can get experience without having to go too far. So yeah, like there are pros and cons to just, hey, you can just grind your way through the problem. But they didn't finish that being a solution by giving you an easy way to do that. Sometimes it is. Like I had a situation with the boss where there was a grinding room right there, and every time you go into the under lab, it resets the enemies. So I was able to pick up about 1,000 experience every 4 or 5 minutes, and after about 20 minutes, I had another level. High up in the game. Early in the game, you get levels pretty quick, but like when you're where I'm at now, I've got level 8 and level 9 skills. It takes a lot longer to pick that stuff up. But ultimately, it's not necessarily my health or my damage output that's the problem. It's the punitiveness. It's bosses that are going to hit you for a third of your life, and there's really not much you can do about that. So you just have to try to avoid them as long as you can while still getting your hits in and getting a way to heal and all that stuff. And to finish your question, John, are there probably some reviewers out there who are like, oh no, I can handle this level of hard. This is me. Like, yeah, there's probably some false bravado there too. But I don't think there's any way you can justify the lack of inclusion of a map, even if it only shows places you've been. And I actually think it's a major problem for me. Like I said, I lost an entire day not being able to figure out where the fuck to go.
Yeah.
I was just trying to make it back to town.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is not, 1987 where you just expect this with every game and you go and read a strategy guide and don't care about that because your time has no value.
Yeah. Like I said, there are things I like about this game when it's not putting me in situations where there's a bunch of flying enemies that I can't hit without perfectly timing my jump. Some of the combat feels good. I don't like the fact that Mina has no swing in her sword attacks. Even Link has a little bit of swing in 2D Zelda games. So like if they're standing like immediately to the right of the sword when she sticks it out, it doesn't do any damage. That's annoying. Like have her swing it a little bit. Little things like that would be better. But like when I'm feeling it, when I've got the burrowing going well and I'm dodging enemies and I'm getting attacks in and stuff, that feels really nice. But I feel like a lot of the rooms aren't set up to make it a useful skill. Like there'll be a bunch of holes in the ground, or boulders that block your way, which makes it so you really can't use that skill to its full potential. You could use it maybe a little bit to escape a bad situation, but there's a whole series of dungeons where there's constantly lightning, and you have to stand near a lightning rod to not get hit. But if you get hit mid-platforming, we're going to reset you back at the start of this whole room. Because that's where it determines that the quote safe spot is. It's like, it's not any fun. I don't like that at all. So yeah, I think there are sickos who love this shit. I think there are people who have adjusted the settings And yeah, there are probably some reviewers who are like, no, I'm a big tough player. I can handle this big tough game. So like if you were to ask me like, can I recommend this game? My answer is no. I can't. I do not recommend this game. I think they fucked the equation up for difficulty to punishment. And I hope they keep that in mind with their next game. But the reality of the situation is the next yacht, like I love Hollow Knight. I've played everything in Hollow Knight. I've played it.
Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight. Sorry, yeah. Shovel Knight. I don't particularly love Hollow Knight. I love Shovel Knight. I have done everything in that game. But now I have to look askance at the next thing they release. Because the designers who made these choices will still be there. Because Yacht Club is just the collection of people who made this game. And I think some of these decisions are so like obviously fucked that there was nobody in the room to stop them. Makes me think like, why? Why did nobody raise their hand and go, motherfucker, put a map in the game? Or, hey, put a checkpoint next to the ball. They know it's a problem because one of the things you can change is underlab at bosses. They fucking know. Oh, if you, so you have side weapons, by the way. You lose your side weapon when you die. So you can get into, sometimes when it does give you an underlab at the boss or very close to the boss, now you don't have a side weapon. And it zeroes out your usage, how much of side weapon juice you've got when you die. So you got to refill that too. So like you might actually be materially worse going into the boss room the second time than you were the first time, which is neat. I like that. Listener, I do not like that. That is really obnoxious. You can buy an upgrade to your underlabs that like puts the last item you had when you died in reserve, so you can grab it in the underlab. But I haven't been able to get back to town for a while because I've been stuck on this cycle of it moving me around the game map. So I haven't been able to go to town to buy these things in like a day and a half. I know it's there. I just didn't have the money for it last time because I bought the map because I thought the map would be useful. Lord. I don't know. Like, I wanted to like this game a lot. I really did. But I feel like they missed the mark. And like, I know some of this is me. Some of this is like, it's almost tailor-made to the things that make me crazy about game design. But there are ideas here that I just don't think materially make the source material they pulled them from better, and oftentimes make it worse. Like, if you don't think Miyazaki is like, oh man, what if we made it so you had to do damage before the vials worked? Like, yeah, I'm sure they thought about it, and they're probably like, well, this fucking sucks, don't do that. Hollow Knight, which does do something similar, the ask isn't significant. And honestly, I think that's where it should be. I think the healing system here is too complicated. I think the navigation requires too much of the player's memory. The economy's fucked up. Keys. We haven't talked about the keys. Like the keys in this game, the small keys, they're called keys. They're key gears. Get it? It doesn't even make any fucking sense. Why would you? Whatever. Unlike a Zelda game where the keys are near the locks that they are used on, these are just scattered throughout the world. You have to find them in chests or in the random shops in the wilderness who might have a keyer on them. And so when you encounter a keyer lock, you should hope you've got one on you. Because if you don't, sucks for you. Yeah, it does feel good when you open up a shortcut, especially if it's a big shortcut. But that just makes it feel worse when they don't give you shortcuts for a while. Because it's like they knew they could, they knew they should, but in this case they said, no, I want it this way. I want it this particular way. And I just don't have the patience for that. I don't. It is what it is. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with this game. Is there a chance I beat it anyway? Yeah. Cause like, it's not like I'm not making progress, but the progress is uneven. It's fits and starts. And when I'm not making progress, it just feels bad. And so, like, I don't think this is a bad game. I think it's a good game full of bad ideas. Which in a weird way is more infuriating. If it was just a bad game, you could just go like, oh, it's a bad game. You guys made a bad game. Sucks to be you. But this is the bones of a good game made not good, which is so much more infuriating.
Yeah, you got to think that they'll come back through and probably add a map or something like that, right? Like that's what I would expect.
Like they feel like it seems like they feel like the lack of a map is correct, and I just don't agree.
It's just again, I go back to, this is not 1987 when you literally couldn't have a map. I mean, ever since Symphony of the Night, I don't really think. I think it's pretty well established that having a map in a game of this type is
an exploration-based 2D game.
Yes, there is no reason not to have a map aside from just being, just
a jerk.
Being deliberately obscure with your game.
Yeah. This is like we make fun of Castlevania 2, but it wasn't deliberately obscure. It was just fucked up translation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what it was asking you to do was stupid, but at least if it was translated correctly, you would know what you need to do, even if it's stupid. This shit was done on purpose.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it frustrating.
Yeah. So, it sucks. Like, I had a run yesterday where I was making great progress. I was just scooting, and I felt good about it. And then I hit this ice area, and I just hate it. I hate it. So, I just want to get out of there. But because there's no map, I have no idea how close I am to getting out of there either. So I don't know if bailing out now is the right call, or if I should if I'm like 4 screens away from getting the fuck out of here the right way. All right. I've ranted about this for too long. Greg, do you have any thoughts on it? I know you've only played the intro section.
Well, yes, that's the thing I was going to say, basically. Yeah, with all the very encouraging reviews and playing the demo a while back, I enjoyed that broadly. So I thought, well, I got it pretty quickly. But I did not play as much as I anticipated, just so I didn't have that much time to play stuff in the past week. But basically, it gave me the option to sort of pick up where I left off after the demo, because, I had played that, but I thought I better not, because that feels like a long time ago. I guess, in part because the game was delayed, right? So I thought, I'm going to need to get, sort of, reinitiated, into the game, especially because there's plenty of talk about it being, relatively challenging. I don't remember even the demo, was somewhat tricky considering it is the start of the game. Basically I just got a little bit beyond the scope of the demo. So it's nothing that people don't already know, pretty well, probably, if they're interested in this. I chose the mace. I guess because it's the most sort of, even though this is top down, it's like the most Castlevania-ish. So especially with those sub-weapons, like that feels like a very Castlevania-ish kind of, thing to have, or, the sidearms or whatever. I'm kind of, was pretty happy with that so far. And especially because I have played it before. Obviously I went through that section without too many troubles and all that. But it's interesting what you're talking about. I think the biggest thing that I'm sensitive to in terms of what you're talking about is some of that, retracing your steps to bosses stuff, because we've had a few probably over the years emails about when is it sort of fair game, or when is it something that you like to use save states, that kind of thing, to playing classic games. And walking back to bosses is one of my absolute kind of no-brainers on that subject. Yeah. It's just like, I will do that. And admittedly, sometimes that is literally like an RPG. I think I played Earthbound for the first time on Wii U, right? And, again, it's just like, well, it can often be like, you just walk there. like it could be, because it might even be that there are enemies, but you're strong enough that like the battle is completely trivial, and they may not even like you might even end up in a fight with them or whatever. So it's like I'll just have it so that when I want to fight if I need to fight the boss again, I just load up that save state to the start of the battle and get it going. And so that kind of thing is a real no-brainer, right? Because there's nothing really involved. But even when it's more like, okay, you've got to, there's some theoretical amount of challenge to get there, and then you've got to, it's about, can you get to the boss with the things you want, right? Where it might be health, or it might, if you've got a game with finite ammunition of some kind, that kind of thing. But it's like usually at some point you're going to get that first bit down pat a lot faster than you do the actual more challenging boss bit. And so that, even though it isn't as trivial as just walking somewhere in an RPG, it becomes kind of trivial. So again, I would just let's cut that out. So it's kind of, I'm not sure. It would be interesting to see in this case if it's something I really feel like, God, I wish I could just cut this out, but I can't because it's not, Switch Online or Virtual Console, right? I can't just make a save state if I find myself really wishing that. Then I guess, my option would be to switch on what you talked about with the underlabs at the boss thing. And I may do that if I find it irritating enough. I guess we'll see. It will be quite interesting in that respect, how I get on with it, because certainly, I've never, I've played plenty of challenging games, especially when I was a kid, because that's a lot of how they were. I guess the rental stuff, if you didn't help, matters. Although generally, that was not such the Japanese versions of games, which are still mostly what I had, in the 90s, didn't make the same changes sometimes. But it was never about my dexterity or ability. It was just about time and persistence. And those are things I don't have in the same quantities anymore. And my dexterity, such as it was, is probably not as good as it was either. So it's definite, limits to my ability, to take on the really challenging stuff these days. So it may be a case of engaging with some of these, modifications, some of these kind of, easing strategies maybe, but to get the enjoyment out of the game. And if so, I'm fine with that. But, we'll see how I think these things hang together. But basically, some of the reason why I've not played as much of Mina this week as I thought I would is because where I left off with Yoshi, Mysterious Book, last week, I was kind of 2/3 the way through, and I hadn't been rushing through it. I'd been kind of taking my time through it, and as we said, it's kind of a casual play kind of game. But then, so I thought, well, I'll see the credits on that, and then maybe, I'll get more of a quality time in with Mina. And I did that. And I have to say it had a nice kind of, finale concept. I thought that, again, I'll stick to generalities as much as I can, because again, the nature of the game really would, especially this soon after it's come out, I don't want to spoil much with it. But cool concept for a finale. You have the finale, you have the credits. And then, of course, these days, I think we're all conditioned with these sorts of, platformers, especially, that there'll be, stuff beyond the credits, right? That the post game, whatever you want to say. You expect it these days. But I would say with Yoshi, it's more substantial than I was expecting. And when I say substantial, I don't just mean the amount of it per se, but also just how kind of genuinely novel it is. There are extra levels, sort of like modifiers to levels that you've already played. If you go back to them sometimes, where it's like, okay, well, here's this level about a particular creature. Now now that you've found this different separate creature somewhere else in the game, he will appear back in this other level, and it's like a remix kind of challenge based on, it's the same general like layout of the level, but now these two different creatures can interact, and it creates a different kind of challenge or puzzle or something, so you get that kind of stuff. But also in the post game, you just get a massive relative, really substantial amount of just genuinely novel stuff, and really going back to those last two chapters that I hadn't played last week, building up to that sort of credit sequence and then all this post credit sequence, it definitely has, not like fundamentally changed any of what I said last week in terms of, the nature of the game, the way, that it entertains you, the kinds of people that might enjoy it more than others, all that still applies. But it's definitely gone up a fair bit in my estimation, just because it is, we talk about wanting, more complexity, more interesting kind of stuff as it goes. Well, yeah, and it felt like it was kind of ramping up. Well, the last two chapters and the post-game stuff deliver, much more of that, I feel like, it's just a pretty impressive stream of like variety and just messing around with physics, unique mechanics and locomotion and imagination. And it's long on all of that. It really does feel like they just had a lot of ideas, and there's surprisingly robust kind of physics, for how creatures, sort of react to each other and you react to them, and sort of systems of like, properties that things can have based on, some simple kind of factors. But, obviously being in a side-scrolling platformer context and, being more targeted at younger players is far more simple than this, but there is, almost like a little bit of a Breath of the Wild element to it in terms of just, seeing what will work and what won't. And sometimes, especially like in one particular case, which was like I said, one of these kind of remix levels where he kind of brought a different creature into a pre-existing level and kind of a challenge there. I did genuinely have one of those moments that you get sometimes in like a Zelda, the Breath of the Wild's like shrine, where it's like, does it actually want me to do this? Or is this just my stupid solution to this? Well, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And because it seemed a bit mechanically complex. It's like, I don't know whether the little kids are meant to be doing this. Like, this seems a bit much. But again, it's like, well, man, maybe there is a more straight line solution to this, but fuck it, I'm going to do it. And it worked, and it was fine. You had a little bit of that, kind of going on in this side scrolling Yoshi game. I really felt like, that, when they ramped up the kind of, the amount of stuff, that it was kind of doing just about stuff you could do, whether you really need to do it, strictly, but like I said, it's so kind of, easy, so kind of accommodating with like how if you just want to kind of go through the game and see the unique levels and stuff. But, all these different ideas and mechanics and gimmicks and how they can kind of, approximate in some cases, or kind of just outright produce like, kind of classic side scrolling kind of set pieces, almost like, not quite like a scrolling level, but something like it, boss battles, stealth sections, all this stuff, but it's still within this context of like, oh, well, there's no actual goal. You're just kind of discovering stuff about these creatures. It's all very slickly executed, I think. I really enjoyed the back half of the game. So I ended up spending plenty of time with that instead of, kind of cracking on with Mina. I guess, with these sorts of games, Yoshi games in particular, a lot of the time, it's bound up in like, oh, well, it's easy to get through it, but what, the real kind of game is 100%ing it, which, I think is a bit of a double-edged sword over the years. I've often said about, especially the original Yoshi's Island, like it had kind of, I think a bit of a weakness in that it only really encouraged you to get perfect scores. It didn't encourage you to get good ones. And that was a problem because getting perfect scores could be miserable, like just tracking down, the last red coin or whatever. Whereas like getting good scores is just like, having some kind of incentive to engage with the collectibles and like do your best without like making it sort of, a really kind of painstaking exercise. That I feel like was a sort of mistake that was like somewhat remedied in latter games, that use the Yoshi's Island for it. Even the GBA version, for instance, like I think you could unlock some secret levels by just having like a certain amount, like a good score for that world rather than literally having to get 100 on each of them, so although I think there were secret levels that you did still have to, because there were more in the GBA version, that you did have to have the 100 on each. So, that was always a bit of an issue. Here, obviously, it's so much more granular. And as I mentioned last week, the kind of requirements for unlocking subsequent chapters are very sort of generous, really. They're not asking you to I was always way ahead of the curve on those. So, yeah, I mean, if you were talking about actually 100%ing all these discoveries, it just seems like way beyond what I could even think of, really, because a lot of the time, I don't think I was getting that close to maxing out a particular level / creatures kind of full range of discoveries, right? The thing that is much more within sight is the flowers, like that are kind of like the star coins that I talked about. And so was expected when you roll the credits, you at least get something that you can do with those, even if it's not like massively useful. At least it's like, okay, yeah, so there's some kind of purpose or incentive to these now. And also an ability that goes along with that to gauge like what sort of percentage of the discoveries you've made for each individual kind of creature. So at least you're getting a sense of like, okay, I'm in this level, I'm doing what I can, and you can kind of say like, okay, yeah, I've done, sort of like 3/4 of it now, and I've kind of run it, so that's a good place to stop, and because you can just choose to kind of end the level there and come out and move on to something else. So I could certainly see myself getting 100% of the flowers. The rest of it seems, a little bit like it could be beyond. I mean, you collect these sort of coins, the tokens that you can use to kind of buy hints for discoveries you've not made. So I guess, you could kind of use that to expedite the process, but I'm not sure, if that, past a certain point would be all that sort of worthwhile necessarily. But just the amount of like, fresh kind of ideas and content that I've seen so far, I've no sort of qualms about it, really. I feel like it's already, delivered plenty, and certainly if I go back and clean up those flowers at some point, I feel like the ones I haven't got, I would have thought that'd be quite satisfying on its own. I wouldn't have thought you've really got that. It's a sort of issue of like, oh well, you've really got to 100% it to, get a more substantial, enjoyable experience. Like I feel like the back end really kind of proved that it could provide that anyway. So yeah, I was really pleased with it. I mean, of course, not a huge surprise given that quite a lot of the reviews were, really quite positive. But, I would say it turned out on the upper end of what I was hoping for. So, it slowed things down on the Mina front, but, it should be, within sort of, I think, pretty close distance now of getting back to Mina and putting in some serious time in there. And pretty interested to see how that goes from here.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear how you get on with it, to say the least. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's just about it. Although we should mention, actually, especially because we've been talking about difficulty and all that. The question we had last week about boss characters getting to play as them.
Yeah.
I think it was so obvious in my mind that I thought, well, I'll mention that maybe quickly at some point, and then didn't. The Red Arremer, Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins. Actually, because I remember playing Gargoyle's Quest, because I didn't have a Game Boy growing up, but I did play a little bit of it on one of those days, at the end of the school year where everyone's bringing their toys in. And it's like, this does not really remind me of the swooping nightmare from Super Ghouls.
Is Red Arremer even a boss, or is he just a regular enemy?
I feel like there's like in Super Ghouls and Ghosts for GBA, there's like a giant Red Arremer boss. There is one. But yeah, like generally speaking, it's not even a boss, is it? It's just a complete bastard, is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just so much faster than you. He's so much more agile than you. And it's just the bane of your, it certainly was with me playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts back in the day. And then, yeah, obviously, you play Game Boy Gargoyle's Quest, and look, I've ended up playing the game properly many years later, and I enjoyed it. It's a cool spin-off game, quite a different type of game altogether. Obviously, kind of got more in common, with like Mega Man X, really, than Ghouls and Ghosts. But yeah, just in terms of like, okay, it's a spin-off with that bastard, okay, and then it's like, yeah, I don't really feel like the Deathbringer from the skies that I recall from Super Ghouls. Although Demon's Crest, he's definitely pretty fucking cool in that. To be fair, because again, it's a Super Famicom game. It's just more technically capable. You could get all the transformation type things and all that. He is a more capable character in that one.
I'd agree, definitely. All right, well. That is going to do it for us this week. Got a whole bunch of new business, which means next week we're going to boomerang back to listener mail, I suspect, unless something happens between now and then. God.
In middle of June? Unthinkable, surely.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, I mean, we'll have to have the whole episode to review the Xbox game showcase, so that's something to
John,
look forward
to. Can you say that correctly?
Sorry. How do I capitalize saying Xbox? Xbox.
That works.
There we go.
I would just go.
Sorry.
Just go Xbox.
Yeah.
And the more flat you can make the words that surround it, the better.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, that's. I used to say Xbox, but now I guess I have to say Xbox.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. You got to cup your hands. Give it a nice little echo.
Yep.
That new logo, though, John.
Hey, man, it's looking liquidy.
They sent out an invite to like a hands-on event to people, and it looks just like something they would have put out in like 2002.
Yeah,
including the shit font work, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Oh my god, it's just. Oh, you too can run a multi-billion-dollar international mega company that's just one small component of a larger company based on the whims of Twitter.
Well,
so
just, my one comment on this is that I saw something on Reddit, and it was talking about game franchises that Sony had canned from the PS3 era. And it's all of these, like Infamous and Resistance and Killzone, all of like Wipeout or Motorstorm,
Warhawk.
Yeah, all of these franchises that they've killed. And you look at all those franchises, and there's like 8 or 9 of them that were huge at that time. Maybe not huge, but like very, very known at that time, very big. And Sony acts like they don't even exist. Meanwhile, if you look at like the franchises that were big for Xbox at that time, Halo, Gears of War, Forza. What do they talk about now?
Yep.
Halo, Gears of War, Forza. It's like they've made no games in between from now and from the Xbox 360.
They bought a multi-billion-dollar video game company in the interim.
Yeah, and it's just
and
like
many other big companies.
It's just bizarre. Yeah.
Oh, it's so weird. Like they should just. We'll get to hear about. I don't know. I mean, the Xbox one's already. No, it hasn't happened yet. Fuck.
Yeah.
God.
Fable, I guess. Yeah, Fable is the other one. So there's those 4.
Well, I've got a lot of hope for Fable because when I think of RPG mechanics, I think of playground games.
Yeah.
The makers of Forza Horizon. Fuck.
I mean, hey, at least they got a track record.
Ayo.
Yeah.
Good job with that one. That was good. No.
Thanks.
B plus pun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you can send us your B plus puns by sending us an email to John. What is it?
RFN at NintendoWorldReport.com. That is RFN at NintendoWorldReport.com.
That is RFN at NintendoWorldReport.com. And that means we got one last thing to do, which is ask Greg what our music is for this week. Greg, what is our music for this week?
Well, one announcement that we've already had this week was about Rayman Legends Retold. It's like one of the better, I guess, of those, like, re-something subtitles, I'd say. You know, Legends Retold, that works. Remastered, not so much.
Remastered is the gold standard against which all things are just.
That is a really tough one to swallow. But I went back and checked.
It's impossible to say.
Well, especially because the problem is if you're in Britain, quite a lot of people just say remastered that way anyway.
You have to actually pause to say the word Mars and then resume the word.
But no, I went back and checked. We've not used any music from Rayman, I don't think, in all this time.
Wow!
So yeah, I was surprised by that, and having played Rayman Legends back then. You know, I when it was originally came out, when, it was gonna be on Wii U, and then it's like, no, well, I mean, it obviously did still come out on Wii U. It was gonna be exclusive to Wii U, right? At least, like a timed exclusive, and it was like,
yes.
No, actually, that we're gonna delay the game so it could come out on other systems at the same time. So, wow. Yeah, tremendously, sort of, bad look for the health of the system, which of course was not inaccurate. Let's face it. But when the game came out, I played it and I enjoyed it, and certainly the musical component was a significant part of that. In fact, you also had those musical levels, right, where it was kind of like you had to. So I guess there were two runs through it, right? So it was like the first time it kind of was, you were kind of playing in time to the music, but you still kind of had a clear view of it to kind of play it like kind of a more typical, platform level. But then they had these like 8-bit, quote unquote 8-bit, I mean, it's a bit more just like general chiptune-y to my ears, but, kind of sound, remix versions of it where they kind of messed with the visuals more. So you really did have to lean more on your understanding, your kind of being in tune and in time with the music, right, to actually successfully execute those versions of the levels. Now, a lot of those were kind of like parody remixes of pop songs. Like, I think Eye of the Tiger was in there somewhere. Which,
yeah, there were.
It's kind of a funny version of Eye of the Tiger, but the problem is that is also like one of the most overplayed songs in the history of the world. If you're as old as I am and as ridiculously as ridiculously popular as the Rocky sequels were in the 80s, then it's just you couldn't escape from that song. So it's kind of like you still kind of end up rolling your eyes at that, even though it is a funny kind of parody version. But I've gone for, I think it's called Orchestral Chaos, but it's the not orchestral version because it's the 8-bit version, so it kind of invalidates the title. But yeah, this one is not like a pop song, but it just reminds me of those stages and the whole game I really quite enjoyed back then, and interesting choice, like kind of doing polygonal graphics. I don't know exactly what this brings to the table. I know the preview on NWR that's gone up for it is also a little bit skeptical of what value it's going to add, but it'll be the soundtrack, I can only imagine, will remain a strength.
All right, well, on that, it is time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.